Hello, my name is Ethan Cloyne. I'm a software developer and I want you to know what I'm doing. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk through and fully step through a tutorial on how to deploy a static website using Nginx. Okay, so what we're going to focus on is overall, what does Nginx do in this use case? How can it help us to serve a website? And we're going to look at how to set up, how to configure Nginx on our virtual machine. Okay, so let's jump into an overview of how a request response cycle might look. Okay, so we've got the internet. The internet is a lot of things. Okay, it's a lot of devices. It's a lot of phones, laptops, computers, servers. All of them are networked in some way. All right, so every device on the internet has an IP address. If I make a request to a particular IP address, configured in a way that that device is ready to respond to, it'll give us some content back. So the most common way that you're probably already familiar with how this works is if I type a URL into my web browser. Okay, so if I go to my website here, ethancloyne.xyz, right? I'm saying I want to see whatever document is stored, whatever document is linked to this particular URL, right? So that's my domain that I own, ethancloyne.xyz. I pay Squarespace $20 every year so that I can own that domain. All right. So that's a request. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at how we can handle a request from the internet, uh, how we can have a machine that's ready to receive it and give content back. All right, which is exactly what's happening here. There's a machine that lives out there on the cloud that has the code that makes this website appear the way it does, and it is responding to that request happily. Okay, so let's figure that out. So this box here, this is our Ubuntu virtual machine. Okay, and this is just a computer that lives out there in the cloud that we're borrowing from a cloud provider. I'm using DigitalOcean. And Ubuntu, if you don't already know, is a distribution of the Linux operating system. Okay, so right now I'm recording this on my MacBook. That's running the Mac OS operating system. If you're using a gaming laptop, you're probably running the Windows 10 operating system or the Windows 11 operating system. Okay, Linux is another option, and it's an option that a lot of cloud providers recommend and use. Most of them. If you're deploying stuff in the cloud, you're probably using some kind of Linux operating system. Okay, so that's what we've got. That's a computer but whenever a request comes in, let's say somebody types our IP address for our machine in there, how does our machine know what to give back on that request, right? So just like with your personal laptop, if you open up the file browser, your downloads folder is full of tons of stuff. Your documents folder has who knows what in there, right? You've got a photo library on there. Some of that you might want to share with people. Some of it you might not want to share with other people. So we need some sort of tool that's going to help us determine what resources should be made available based on what request comes in. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do today, or it's not necessarily the first thing, but one thing we're going to do today is we're going to put our website on the machine. All right, and this is no different than if I have an HTML file on my laptop. Whenever I put it somewhere in the operating system on my machine, that's not necessarily making it available to anybody. It's just living on there, right? And I've got a bunch of other stuff on the website too. Okay, a bunch of other stuff. So we need to do more than just put our website code onto a machine that's in the cloud. We need to also have some sort of tool or application, you can say blue, uh, that is going to listen to the requests that come in and handle them appropriately. All right, so that's going to be our Nginx web server. And what Nginx will do is we'll configure it in such a way that it listens for requests. And if it identifies that a request is going to ethancloyne.xyz, then it'll serve the content that is appropriate for that based on what we tell it to do. All right, so we'll jump into the details of what that looks like whenever we actually go and do it. Let's get a little checklist going. Okay, so what's the first thing we're going to do today? We're going to spin up an Ubuntu VM. We're going to access an Ubuntu virtual machine. Okay, I did this via DigitalOcean. All I did was I went to droplets, or I went to create. I did add droplet. I got the cheapest one I could get with a gigabyte of memory. Make sure it's running Ubuntu 24.04 or any other long-term support operating system. This is the one we're using. I set up SSH access to that. You can do password-based access. The way we're doing things today, this is important. Probably delete your machine when you're done with it, okay? Because we're not following security best practices. You don't want somebody to get access to your machine. It's probably not going to happen, but why take that risk, okay? So whenever you click console here, it'll log you in. We're running as our root user, unsafe. But we're learning about Nginx today. We're not learning about server administration necessarily. We might go into some of that, okay? So we're here. We've got a machine, but like I said, it's just got content. It looks empty. If we go up a directory, we've got all this content. This is like operating system level stuff. And we are going to mess with some of these files, but let's go back into root here. The first thing we want to do is apt, apt, that I don't know what it stands for, but it's a package manager for Ubuntu, for Linux. And we're just going to run update to make sure that everything is up to date. And then we're going to use this to install our Nginx application. Okay, so now we're going to say, hello, can you please go get and install for us the Nginx application? So it's running, it's unpacking it, it's setting it up. Now we've got some new stuff on our machine. We've gone from an empty green box here to now we've got this white Nginx web server. It's here. We don't really know what it's doing yet. Okay. I maybe should have shown you this before, but we've got Nginx running. So it's serving some default content already. Right now the Nginx web server is successfully installed and working. Anyway, so we're here. We've got Nginx, but it doesn't really know what to do, right? It doesn't know what content to serve. It's not a web developer. It's not a web designer. We need to go in here and we need to add our website code to our server. Okay, so the place we're going to put that is we're going to put it in var. So I'll do it one directory at a time so you see where we're going. So we're here. We're going to go into this var directory, a couple layers. There's like an HTML folder. That's where Nginx tends to look by default. So that's where we're going to put things right now. Okay, we're going to go into var. We're going to go into HTML or www. We're going to go into HTML. And we're going to make a new directory. And this directory is going to be the name of the website that we want. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to do a subdomain. I'm going to do sample.ethancloyne.xyz. We're going to step in there. So just to show you, so ethancloyne.xyz, that's where I've got my personal website on. If instead of www, I do sample, that's where I want this new site to go to. Okay, and right now, you're going to see probably nothing. It'll try really hard for a bit, but it's not going to find anything. We don't have anything being served from that particular domain. Okay, so let's add an index.html file. This is the convention for HTML. The entry point for a website is traditionally called index.html. We're just going to put a HTML snippet, right? We've got an HTML document, our tag, our head, our body. Let's put something in there. Let's put a h1. This is my sample subdomain site, h1. Okay, write and quit. Okay, so we've added some content to index.html, right? I'm going to cat it. I'm going to print it out to the screen just so we can confirm it's in there. This is the contents of this path, right? Now what we need to do is we need to tell Nginx, there we go, finally failed. Hello, please go ahead and find and serve that file whenever we ask for it. So let's update where we're at here. We've installed Nginx. Now we've add website content, right? We put that in our var dub HTML. And now we're going to configure Nginx. And let's talk about how Nginx wants to be configured, okay? So the web server is sort of a blob, but if we make it a little more zoom in, okay? Imagine we're zooming in to this white Nginx web server. There's a couple things that are important in here. One of which is our primary configuration file, nginx.conf. Okay, so let's look at what that is on our machine. So nginx.conf lives in etc nginx. So there's a bunch of stuff in here. Let's look at what's in nginx.conf. We've got a lot. Okay, we've got what user our Nginx process is going to use. We've got process IDs. We've got all of this is default. This came whenever we installed Nginx, right? So we're not going to change anything in here. I do want to bring your attention to a particular line in here. All right. So right here on line, who knows what number, it says include Nginx sites enabled star. That means I can add configuration files to the sites enabled directory and it will be part of my Nginx configuration. Okay, that's what that means. So we're not going to mess with the conf directly. We're going to go to sites enabled. We've got, oh, I've been in this VM already. Okay. We've got nothing in here. There might be a default, something in here. If there is, delete it. All right. So rm default doesn't exist, but if there is, delete it, and we're going to make a new file, sample.ethancloin.xyz. Okay, it's empty. We're going to add a server block to it. So here's this blog post that I've written that is walking us through this same thing. We're on our way down here. This is a server block. This is what it looks like, right? So let's copy it. Let's make sure our IP gets in here. What's our IP address? It is this number. We're going to post it, and we're going to add a semicolon, okay? And let's add our domain value too, sample.ethancloin.xyz. All right, so we're saying, let's talk through the syntax of this server block. We're opening a server block. We're saying the name of it is the IP address or the domain. We're saying the root, that's the place we're going to go look first whenever requests come in to this server block. We're going to say go look at sample.ethancloin.xyz. That's the directory we just added. We added an index.html file. And then this location block is just saying look at the URL that is provided, add a slash. If you don't find anything, return a 404. Okay, so we've got this. This is a new configuration file. It's now being appended to the contents of the nginx.conf file. All right. Does that change any of our behavior? Wow, it does. That's amazing. That's kind of surprising to me because I thought I would have to reload my Nginx. But so just so we can confirm here, we're going to run nginx-t. That's saying, hey, please check my configuration, make sure it's all okay. Nginx. Then we're going to use system control, reload nginx. Yeah, so that's pretty powerful stuff, right? We've got a website. We could have like a real website here instead of one header item. But what is this? Not secure. That doesn't seem good. If you want to be a web developer, if you want to have a website on the internet, you probably don't want people to feel unsafe on there, right? So there's a certain security protocol, HTTPS, that we want to make sure we are uh, following, right? So the way we're going to do that is we need a certificate assigned to our website. Let's jump back to our blog post here, or our diagram here. I'm actually not going to explain because I don't super understand how SSL works well enough to explain it to you, but I can show you how to set it up. Okay, so here you can see we need a domain that exists. I'll insert a photo here of what my domain actually looks like, what that record looks like. You need to go to Squarespace or some other provider, purchase a domain, and create an A record. And that A record is going to map your domain to an IP address, and in this case, the IP address of our server, right? So instead of putting an IP address in here, we want to put in sample.ethancloin, and we want it to be HTTPS. So let's do that all at once. All right. Assuming you now have a domain and you have an A record configured pointing to the IP address of your current server, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back to here. You don't really need to. We're going to apt install. Well, let's see. Do I have, yep, certbot and Python 3 certbot Nginx, right? So certbot is a tool that we're going to use to help enable HTTPS for our server. We need the second one in order to work smoothly with Nginx, because there's other web servers out there that people use. So this Python 3 certbot Nginx package is what makes it easy for us to just do it specifically for Nginx. Okay, so now we've got that installed. We want to run a command. We want to say exactly like this: certbot Nginx, because we know we're using that as our web server, and here's the domain: sample.ethancloin.xyz. Okay, that's it. I'm going to give my email address here. Do I agree? Yes, I do. Yes. We're requesting a certificate for our domain that exists. I already have an A record configured. Uh, if you have trouble doing that, feel free, leave a comment, shoot me an email. I'll help you through it. Certbot failed. Ensure the listed domains point to this Nginx server. Oh yeah, you know what? It's probably pointing to my old one. So pause. Now we're gonna run that again. Let's give it dig. We're trying again. It's pointing to this server. We're saying please verify that I do in fact have this domain set up to point to this particular server. Now we have a certificate. And now, if we go here, 404 not found. But if we go to sample.ethancloin.xyz, it ought to load. It might just be taking a minute because I literally just live updated my DNS record. Okay, and I'm back. I took some time. I made a smoothie. Now, as you can see, this dig command, it just asks those domain name servers, hey, whenever you're looking for this domain, what IP is coming back right now? So before, whenever our site wasn't loading, it was pointing to the old IP address. It's because I'd already made a record for this sample.ethancloin.xyz. and I was updating it. It takes about 30 minutes on this one for that update to carry through. So you can see eventually that IP changed, and now we're here. We're at sample.ethancloyne.xyz, and everything is looking good. So let's talk about what we did here and what we didn't do. One thing that we didn't do is make this super secure. So everything's done on the root user. So you should probably make like an admin user and do everything through that. But you should probably keep your actual website code in that user's folder, not in like the actual core Ubuntu place. Um, but it's fine. It works. It gets something on the internet. And we did do certbot. So we got secure HTTP set up for our service. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So let me know if there's anything in here that was confusing. Feel free to check out the article. I'll link it. And thank you for watching. I hope you learned something.